Oh no, a coolant leak. What am I gonna do? Is it gonna be easy or hard? Follow along with me and find out. First thing we do, pull the, actually I've got half the bike kind of apart. Well, a couple things anyway. I got the seat and the fuel tank off, but I need to pull the radiator cap off, and then there's a little vent bolt drain the coolant at the lowest part of the water pump housing cover. Pull that bolt off, and wouldn't you know it, the threads are stripped. This just turned into a bit of a project. Luckily, I've got the tools and the parts to be able to fix it. First thing I got to do is get the magnesium or aluminum or whatever it was, the threads that are stuck in the bolt. Got to get that out. Once I've got the bolt cleaned up, I can remove the remainder of the water pump housing cover screws and bolts and the radiator hose. Kind of, I guess, did this a little bit the hard way. I probably could have just removed that cover that just popped it off the hose pretty easily, but I decided to pop the hose off before removing the cover. There's, a couple short screws and then that one long bolt. The original gasket's kind of outlined in blue. Anyway, luckily I got a new gasket as well. So in order to get the threads repaired on the water pump cover, I got to drill it out first. I've got this nice little helicoil kit, and this is the process for fixing threads. I didn't want to do this on the bike. Obviously, I didn't want to get all that debris inside the coolant system, so I had to pull that water pump cover off. So anyway, I drilled it out. I tapped new threads in it. My little helicoil kit comes with the drill bit and the tap, and basically all the tools and parts that you need to be able to fix threads. So now that I got threads on my water pump cover, I'm going to go ahead and put my helicoil in. It's got a special little tool that fits inside of the helicoil insert with a tiny little tab that breaks off as soon as you get the helicoil inserted all the way, fully, nice and flush. Well, flush on the outside. It was obviously sticking through on the inside, but that didn't bother me. It's not going to affect the functionality of anything. Anyway, there's another little tool to pop that little tab off, but like I said, I didn't feel like it was going to be a problem having a little bit of that helicoil sticking into the coolant reservoir area, if you will. I don't know if you could really see in this video, but basically the water pump fins are up high. They're not going to contact that little bit of helicoil that's inside that coolant reservoir area. So we're basically ready to put that water pump cover back on. So we've got 3 bolts holding the cover to the motor. Then we got our drain bolt. So we put all those bolts in, and then we get this coolant hose reattached. Now again, I did this probably the hard way. I could have just put that hose on while the water pump cover was loose, and that would have done the trick. One thing I forgot to mention was make sure to use the new gasket for the water pump cover. And then once you've got all those bolts in place, you can then snug them up using the proper torque spec, which I think is somewhere around 8 Newton meters. Then we're ready to fill it back up with coolant. I just reused some of my coolant that poured out because it was brand new coolant, and I didn't feel like dumping it and buying all new coolant. Coolant's not exactly cheap, so I refilled that, put the cap back on, put the vent bolt back in. Now here I'm just kind of reassembling some things I had apart, like the magneto cover. Obviously you got to put the fuel tank back on, the seat, and then my air filter cover. One of the last things to do here is reattach my fuel line and fill it up with fuel. So I got my fuel line attached. I got the a little bit of fuel in there. I didn't obviously fill the tank up all the way in case I needed to take it apart again. So I got just a little bit of fuel in there. Petcock, turn that on, make sure gas is flowing, pop the choke, and here's me trying to start it. Now I did a lot of other work to this bike, and I could tell you that it did run 2 years ago, but after doing all the work that I did, it was not an easy task trying to start this thing. I played around with it for a bit, kicking it over a few dozen of times, probably flooded it, which is why I pulled that spark plug out, blew that off with the compressed air. There was a lot of gas in the cylinder, so I decided not to use the choke anymore. Just kidding, I lied. I used it a couple more times, but bike was still not starting. It probably was flooded again. So, I just kept kicking it. I got to about roughly, 279 kicks. I guess you might could say that I was feeling energized because the coolant leak was fixed. That's right, it was pouring out from the drain bolt, and once I got all that reassembled, there was no more leak. We're good to go. Just gotta finish putting some of the plastics and the seat back on and take it for a test drive. It had gotten dark, as you can see in the video. Didn't want to take it for a test drive at 9 o'clock at night. Figured that would probably make my neighbors upset. At least that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. A little victory fist bump. Anyway, if you enjoyed, please like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.